Welcome to this week's Sunday markups. Listen, today I'm marking up the chart so we can see what we're expecting for this week. So listen, to close out last week, first of all, we're looking at gold. Gold had a very nice drop to close out last week. Anybody who caught that NFP move made some money on it. So listen, for this week, what we're looking at, first of all, let's go higher, a bit higher. Since it is a brand new month, let's see what's going on. As we see, we are approaching this monthly fair value gap that I got marked up right here. Almost at that 50%, just entered the box of the fair value gap on the monthly time frame. So what's probably gonna happen, we eventually will hit that 50% and fill that up. But so far for the month, we have started to sell for the past few days of the open of the month. Now we go to the weekly time frame. As I said last week, we had a very nice sell off for NFP, and we end up coming down and touching the wick. This wick right here that happened to probably 2 months ago at this point. And basically, we have been selling, and we end up filling up this fair value gap that we got marked up on a lower time frame. So far, this is looking like a good seller's market. We end up coming off from the top of here, hitting that, then coming to hit this 50% in the FVG. And we simply just been selling off on gold for like the past few weeks for real. Now, if we tap in on a daily time frame, like I said, we end up coming into this fair value gap on a monthly, but I also got a small fair value gap marked up right here on this daily candle, which we just hit the 50% mark on. So let's see what's going on. We zoom in a little bit more on a 4 hour time frame. Honestly, it had been a nice sell off. If you somebody who trade like break and retest or something, we clearly got the break of this structure and the break of this structure. So what I would think what happen next will be a retest back into this fair value gap, at least up in here, to hit this fair value gap before we push even lower down. And honestly, that's what I would expect for the week. As you see, I was looking at this last night, kind of got a markup off something else that I've been looking at. Honestly, for gold, I do expect it to open up with some buys as far as with us filling in a fair value gap, then coming in and touching this fair value gap on the left side that's marked up. So I do expect gold to open up with some buys, and then after we hit either this fair value gap or we come and touch this area right here, then the rest of the week I do think that it will continue to sell. So we'll simply see what happens right there with gold. Again, I expect markets to open up with some buys, and then we basically, if you trade break and retest, you got the break of this structure, the break of this structure. So we'll basically just retest and then start to sell back off. So that's simple. For gold, I expect buys to open a week, and then by the end of the week, we should start selling, or at least by Wednesday, we should start back selling. Now, NAS 100, if you somebody who trade NAS, NFP went crazy for NAS as well. I mean, honestly, NFP went crazy in general, and I know that it made a lot of people a lot of money for anybody who was in on the right direction. So let's go to the monthly markup for NAS 100. It has started selling for the to open up the month. Overall, though, NAS is very, very, very bullish. By all means, don't get it wrong. NAS 100 is very, very bullish. So far though, we have had sellers just to open up the month. Came down here. We end up we end up hitting, well, really clearing a gap that was marked up like right up in this point. This was a gap that we left probably like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. NAS 100 had a really big gap that it never came back to touch for like a full week. Well, almost 2 weeks for real. It finally closed it out for Friday when NFP hit. So far, we end up coming down, filling up that fair value gap, and that's on the weekly. So far, it is looking like that it could sell back off, potentially come down into this area somewhere before it start buying back up. So if we go in on a daily, we basically had this very like NAS 100 was a very great like sale for Friday. Now we are at this area of interest, so right here we got one or two options. Either we will break this structure right here, and then we'll start to sell off a little bit more, or right here we will buy back up and come hit this fair value gap, which is right here, which is also where we left that NAS 100 gap at, and then we will start to sell back off, or we will continue to buy. It simply just depends on how the market actually play out. If we don't break this structure, then we could look for buys. If we do break this structure and close below the structure, then we can start looking for sales. So, I mean, that's simple. So far, as you see, very clean sell off from the top all the way to the bottom. And at this area, I would say, honestly, I would think that we would get some type of rejection, especially if you trade like break and retest. We end up breaking these structures down here, completely sold off, no retest at all. So we might just retest this 50% or this fair value gap right here, which is also where we left a gap at, which is right up in here. And then we'll probably start to sell back off, simply just depending on if we start to break this structure or not. So for NAS, it's really the same structure as gold. I expect a retest to open up on or Sunday. Retest come up in here, hit this, and then we'll sell back off. Or if we don't come back and actually break these structures down here, then we won't sell back off. We'll start to buy back. So it simply just depends. I'm definitely expecting a buy for the open of the week, and then from there we'll simply just have to see if the market decides to dang on to sell off or decides to continue to buy up. And we really cleared like weeks worth of information from this, because this side we just were straight bullish, and then like a day we basically just cleared all of that information. So again, for NAS, I'm expecting a cool buy off of this area. This would be an area of interest, simply because if you're a support and resistance trader, this will be support. And based off support, you buy. Based off resistance, you sell. So I do expect some type of bias on NAS to open up the week. And then we would just have to see if it would continue to sell off or if it would continue to buy back up. And that's NAS 100. My analysis: buying to open up the week, hit this fair value gap around 29,400 and like 432. So at that point, it would basically tell us whether we're going to continue to sell off or if we're going to buy some more. Simply just depends. So that's not the same thing. Buy to open up the week, depending on how it actually look, we'll probably continue to sell off. We just gotta see. Now, GBP JPY, it did come to these highs, which this happened weeks ago. Like these was all-time highs that started to get created, came down, dropped up in here, and for a very long time, basically like 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, if we actually go back on a higher time frame. Yeah, that was basically like a month's worth of just in this area. It's not really well, it kind of is consolidation on a lower time frame, but it's not too much of a consolidation for real. So we right here by all time highs, and it's very possible that we start to sell off before we start to get all time highs, like to start to break them. So it very much just depends. For the month, we started off clean buys up here, hit this fair value gap that I got marked up here, hit the 50%, and NFP basically just sent it selling back down. Now it is more gaps down here, it's more liquidity down here, it's more money down here. So it's possible we come back into this area and grab this before we buy back up. Overall, though, this is also a bullish market. Basically all of these except gold, NAS 100 and gold has been very very bullish. I mean, not gold. NAS 100 and GBP JPY has been very very bullish. As you see, even on a monthly, we still got room right here. this is like a W formation. Boom, first leg, boom, neckline, second leg, and we've been taking off. So I do expect this to continue to be bullish, just depending on how this actually wants to play out. So that's the monthly for the month we've been selling so far. Now right here, there's a lot going on as far as like this hasn't really went too much of anywhere. It's kind of just been up and down, giving us like small moves that we could take. And let's see. Now since we haven't ever, well, I'm not gonna say ever, since we haven't broke this dang on support zone right here, we probably will continue to hold these buys, just depending on what it actually decides to do. Now, when we come in on a daily time frame, as you see, we do have good buy structure. It's just been going up for like the past 2 weeks. Came, filled in this fair value gap, and then had a very, very big sell off. It's still money down here. These areas never got pulled, which means it's still money down here. If you're familiar with liquidity, then you know it's still liquidity down here, and we could very much come and touch that, or at least come and grab that for real, for real. So we really just have to see how this actually plays out. Now, again, I do expect the same thing. I'm expecting the same thing for all three markets. Since we came down here, if we're going on a 4 hour time frame, since we did come down here, we came and grabbed this money down here. We came all the way as far as down here for real, which even grabbed this liquidity that was sitting right here. And based on what I've been learning, I do think that this will buy back up and kind of repeat the same structure of buys that we seen, since this was a strong buy that happened right here. And we basically hit that, then retested into this fair value gap. And as you see, since we have pushed down here based on NFP, then I do think, or news, if you're not familiar with NFP, since we have pushed down here based on the news that happened for the first of Friday, then I do think that we will buy back up, might come back into this area up in here before we start to sell off again. Because even if you look at it, this has created a lower high. We end up making this point right here, then coming down and basically retesting that FVG, pushing into it, hitting that 50%. And we close down here, which tell us that this has signs of sellers coming into the market, which is a good thing because we do have money still sitting down here. So that could very much come and get grabbed. So same thing for this. I expect GJ to come buy off of this area right here, come back probably up into this area right here, and then we'll more likely start to sell back off. We simply just got to see how the market plays out for the rest of the week. So for all three markets, I'm expecting buys off of the open, and then from there, we have to see if the market will continue to buy or sell off. Now for GJ, I think that it's more likely going to sell back off, simply because we have created the first lower high on this 4 hour time frame, and even like for the higher time frame, we got, let's see, yeah, for the daily, I mean, for the daily, it's kind of like a retest. They haven't really broke this level of support, so it haven't fully just broken daily structure. But based on that red candle, this bearish engulfing candle, we probably will break bearish. What am I bearish? Basically, we'll break this support. We'll more likely start to break these support areas down here. So we simply just gotta see how this plays out, because again, a few like 2 weeks ago we started making all-time highs up in here, and then we had a stupid big sell-off like literally after hitting all-time highs. And just Friday we ended up coming to hit 50% of this fair value gap on the all-time highs and sold completely off, and we still got money down here. So again, I'm thinking we buy off the open, and then we start looking for sales again. So that's a simple markup for this week. All three markets, I'm looking at buys off of the open, and then potential sales after that, whether it's happening by Monday or Tuesday or even by Wednesday. So the first half of the week, I'm looking at this market, all three of these markets to be buying, and then after that we can start selling back off. So we simply just see how this plays out. And that is Sunday markup. I mean, it's nothing else really to it for real, for real. That's it. So if you would like to trade with me this week, catch all the live plays that I call out, and make you some money and with me, listen, click the link inside of my bio and join my trading community. And if you would like to learn how to trade and see exactly what I see, look, just simply go to the link in my bio and grab my beginner's trading course. And from here, I will see y'all next Sunday for the next weekly markups. And if you're in the private trading community, I will see you inside of the chats.